The last video, I talked about the difference between escape energy and scaling energy. So today I figured we'll just make a full video just talking about energy. Let's start talking about escape energy. What does that mean? Well, in my experience, the people that are getting started in real estate development either come from that escape energy or the scaling energy. So escape means generally they are running from something. These people are reacting basically on the situation that they're currently experiencing. They're running from their boss. They're running from the lack of the control in their own schedule. They're running from their 9 to 5, right? But whatever they're running from, they're trying to leave their situation. And obviously are hoping to make more money, find more flexibility, just have more control of their time and schedule. And so that is all like a reactive energy, right? And then there's another escape energy that shows up in the form of a hamster wheel. These people are already flipping, and they're currently dealing with their contractors, managing like a single family flip, and they're hopping from deal to deal without a system. And then there are also the folks that, for example, start with building a rental portfolio. But ultimately, those guys are dealing with tenants and toilets and are trying to like piece it together. They're still caught up in that hamster wheel. They don't really have a system. Then third, there are the people that actually just like end up like Googling their way through. And they're just consuming. They're trapped by just watching another video, but they don't execute. So they're just essentially trying to escape at night in YouTube videos, whatever they've experienced during the day, right? Looking for a way out, looking for that solution. So I'm not saying that escape energy doesn't make money. It does make money, but it is you trading your time for money. Whether it's that flip, like that rental you managing, ultimately the difference is just that you're walking into a different building. It's similar to the 9 to 5 that you've been trying to escape, right? So here, it's limited. You have a ceiling to this because you don't have a system. It's not really scalable, is basically what I'm saying. And then the last thing here that is really driving that escape energy is actually that nobody tells you there's an expiration date. What that means is the escape energy gets you to a certain point. It gets you started, but once you make that shift, you run out of fuel. It's not what is going to keep you going. So the escape energy is what gets you started, but it does not keep you going. In talking to hundreds of people, I've seen this escape energy show up so many times. I would say actually it's probably more like an 80-20. I do want to tell you about the scaling energy and how that's different, okay? So the scaling energy, you're building towards something. You're literally coming from that visionary in you, and you have that vision, and like that vision is pulling you, right? You see how that's different from the escape energy. That's like just you running from something. So here, you're building towards. So when you're building towards something like that vision that you have, right? That it's a bigger vision, usually, hey, I want to build 1 luxury home, 2 like a duplex or townhomes, or I want to develop this land. Your mind goes from that just escape mindset to like actually, how can I make this happen? So you become a whole lot more resourceful when you're coming from that scaling energy, okay? Because also what this is allowing you to do is to think like 10x bigger. So you are thinking more about who and not how. If you've not read the book, 10x is easier than 2x, it's a great, fantastic book that actually talks a lot about this too. So I did not fully invent this. This is literally coming also from a book that I highly recommend you to read. And ultimately, what this forces you to do is to think more in a process format. So the process is what allows you then to basically make sure that it's scalable, that you're able to really go from deal to deal in a whole lot easier fashion. You see how with process, you're able to scale so much more systematic than if you don't have the process. If you don't have a process, you're just stuck here, right? So that's really important that when you're thinking about getting started in real estate development, you might as well spend your time already from the very get-go in something that's scalable, right? Otherwise, what are we doing? I just mentioned, your mind actually goes from the how to who. Who do I need to really make this happen, right? Who do I need to make this vision a reality? And so you also here think more about the mentor in your team, right? Because again, anything that's scalable requires, first of all, the process, but it also requires the people, right? And we don't want this just to be you. And that's the beauty about development. People do not realize how lean you can run a development team. I've got friends of mine that are managing $1 billion assets under development with literally 3 people. They might have an executive assistant, a financial analyst, maybe another partner or whatnot. But ultimately, like, you can run a mega project with 3 to 5 people. And so it's really important that you build your team. And a lot of times, most of the times, people are not doing that alone. Development really is a team sport. I really mean it. I think actually the people that are trying to just execute on their own, like, they're really limiting themselves. They could go so much further together. So that is also a huge difference there in that scaling energy, right? Like, you're coming more from an abundance mindset rather from that scarcity. You could say this is more like scarcity, right? And this is more abundance. But I think this is more like how it translates to real estate development, escape versus scaling energy as you're getting to break into real estate development. Now, the most beautiful part about the scaling energy too is you're thinking so much bigger. So of course, your returns, your payout is so much larger than this, right? So that's a huge difference. That's what allows you to really 10x rather than just going from one flip to another flip, another flip, from one rental, making maybe $200, $500 a month, to another rental, and like you need, to acquire 100 rentals to really see a meaningful impact. So in development, you have these pretty much exponential normal payouts because you're deploying a process and you're deploying a team. So a huge difference to the other, basically, the real estate business models, right? So if you're thinking about real estate development, you're essentially looking at this like from a business model standpoint. And what this also allows you to do is truly build wealth, like the legacy that you're after. And it is something that you can pass on to your kids, right? It's like truly you asking yourself, okay, well, what do I want to stand for? What do I want to leave after I'm gone? Do I want to leave a paycheck or a portfolio? And development is really thinking way bigger and really coming more from that visionary in you. There are 4 points that are really vital coming from that scaling energy. But the biggest differentiator I've seen from people that we've talked to that are coming from that scaling mindset is that they actually are coming from an identity perspective. They're really wanting to step into that new identity of, I am a developer, right? And not just like basically thinking of this as a doing. So this is I am X, right? It's like how you say, I'm a flipper, I am a realtor. Well, I am a developer and realtor. I am a developer, and rental investor. I am. So you want to make sure that you really own that, okay? So now that's where we're coming to actually like that whole like shift. In talking with hundreds of people, some people already show up with that scaling energy, right? But what do the people do that are coming from that escape energy? How do you make that shift? And let's talk about that. So how do we get from here to here? Like, again, we have to have always a GPS, right? In order to get anywhere, you have to use Google Maps, know like where you're headed, and then Google tells you where to go. So that's what I'm gonna do. You'll start off with process. So this is super important. You have to understand how to go about finding a deal, knowing how to make a pencil, and you have to understand that process in order to gain the confidence. Confidence is everything, right? That's the builder. The difference between the escape and the scaling energy is pretty much that lack of confidence too, right? Because ultimately you don't know just yet what you're running into, what you're like building towards. If you're coming from that standpoint, all you know is you're running away from X. So process is what gets you over that hump to build the confidence. The second thing is a mentor. Now you've got to find someone that you deeply trust, okay? And again, we all know social media. You got to find someone that ideally is not flashy, that's just gonna show you how to get it done, right? Someone that you know cares more about you learning than showing off some supercars. So that's the mentor, and whoever that is for you, okay? Just find that person. And the third part is the decision. You've got to make a decision to get started. You can't just sit on your butt and wish and hope and pray. You've got to make a decision to actually take action, okay? And that's what creates the shift from the escape to the scaling energy and mindset. You want to come from that abundance mindset. That's really how you're gonna grow and progress. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it's always about you learning and basically outgrowing yourself to that next stage. It's you versus you. It's not you versus someone else. Screw the comparison game on Instagram and whatnot. Stop scrolling. There are people that make you feel a certain way. Get them out of your vicinity, you have to make sure that you take action on whatever that takes for you. You need to make sure that you really dial into that focus mode to get you in a place where you have a process, you have a mentor, and you are taking action, okay? This is what's needed to make that jump, to go from escape energy to a scaling energy. And that's what also has you going from a 2x to a 10x. And as you guys know, 10x is in fact easier than 2x. Running a development company and a project is so much easier than scraping by with fix and flips. I'll tell you, I've done so many fix and flips. I've done over 25 flips before I got into development. But ultimately, you've already got a good chunk of the skill set. It's just more so you need to shift the business model. You don't have to have the flipping experience to get started, because guess what? You're going to be starting to learn with the process anyway. And so ultimately, you can go from being a civil engineer, an architect, or whatnot in a W-2 job, not having flipped a single property, right away to new construction and really go and dive into that scaling energy. That's how you're building the most value in the fastest manner, right? If you've gotten value out of this video and you're looking to connect with me, feel free to message me Start on Instagram in the DMs, or check out the link below to our free roadmap, okay? That roadmap is gonna show you that step-by-step process on how to get started. Again, it's just taking about action. So don't do this someday, do this now, not tomorrow, now. See you in the next video.